Joshua is one of the 4 apostolic types. If you want to know more about apostolic types, read my book, The Apostolic Types. The Bible showed us 4 characters in the Old Testament who are a perfect picture of different categories of apostles in the New Testament. Joshua is one of those apostles, and this book is specifically about the Joshua apostle or apostolic type, and how his life very much parallels the kind of experience that the Joshua apostle goes through. We see that Joshua had very humble beginnings, but he matured and grew, and when a time came for God to choose a leader, God chose Joshua. He had to go through some leadership training, but then there was time for him to take over when his leader was removed, and he had to step into that role. Now, probably the first exciting and most powerful thing that Joshua did was to conquer the city of Jericho. And here we see immediately that the Joshua apostle does things differently. He did it different to the way Moses would have done it. Joshua was practical, but he had to make some painful changes, and he faced a time of testing. But then he was ready for action, and the walls of Jericho came down. Right after that, however, he went through a time of testing at a little place, an insignificant little place called Ai. Joshua made a big mistake. He thought he could just send a few people there to go and sort it out, and he didn't go to lead. And the nation of Israel ran away from their enemies, and Joshua had to learn why. Why were they now suddenly filled with fear and afraid to face their foes? He had to get wisdom from God and to overcome this. And the way he had to do it was to locate somebody in the camp who had actually sinned and brought a curse. Next, Joshua came to dealing with a bunch of people called the Gideonites. They came to make a covenant with Joshua. They lied to him because they were afraid that he was going to conquer them, and so he made a covenant with them and joined with them. Here we see a mistake that preachers often make, is they try and be friends with the world. We try and get people to recognize us. Unfortunately, if you're doing it God's way, the world is not going to recognize you. You cannot entertain worldly relationships in the work of the Lord. And Joshua had to learn this the hard way, because he had to pay a price later. When the Gibeonites were attacked, he was forced to go and defend them. And then a final display of the full power that Joshua operated in what I think is revival power that the New Testament Joshua apostle will go through. Joshua overcame the world system. He had to deal with a bunch of enemies who are a typical picture of what we now face as the world system. And he did that using the power of God. This is the revival power of God. This is the victory that overcomes the world. The Joshua apostle leads the way to revival in the New Testament church.